That takes us to our Focus report, which this Friday takes a closer look at this Sunday's referendum in Turkey. Turks are being called upon to weigh in on a constitutional reform that will implement a presidential regime, greatly strengthening the already extensive powers of leader Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The race promises to be tight, even if the polls do predict a victory for his yes camp. Our correspondents went to meet the main political groups that oppose this change.
A Sunday in Bafra, a city on the shores of the Black Sea. It's an AKP stronghold, the Justice and Freedom Party, headed by Erdogan. Today, however, the town is welcoming a member of the ultra-nationalist opposition. Sinan Oğan is a rebel within the Turkish far-right movement. He opposed his party, the MHP, in their decision to support the government's push for constitutional reforms. His campaign in favor of no was punctuated by assaults. He even escaped an assassination attempt as we were filming this report. The assailant managing to escape security.
Bizim kameralarda yok mu onun resmi? Muhtemelen. Arada yakaladım çocuğu. Selamünaleyküm.
But this former member of the Turkish parliament refuses to let himself be intimidated. He accuses the two main parties of the Turkish right of being behind these threats.
It's the AKP and the MHP that are behind this. That's because we MHP dissidents are the key to this referendum. We are the only political force on the right to oppose this referendum. The outcome depends on us, the dissident right.
Geçen insan hakları bir şey duydum. Sen duydun? Karar verdim, okuyacağım, hem insan olacağım, hem insan haklarını koruyacağım.
A video in tribute to the pro-Kurdish party leader, Selahattin Demirtas. Accused of terrorism, he's vowed to prevent Erdogan from switching to a presidential regime, but has been in jail for more than 5 months and faces life imprisonment. Yet his image remains omnipresent. For his supporters gathered in Istanbul, the time has come to make a stand, despite more than 1,500 HDP members having been imprisoned since the July 15th coup attempt. One of the party's main campaign tools, vans that broadcast propaganda music in favor of the No campaign. Minimal resources for a party whose influence has been extremely weakened.
We are being boycotted by television channels. The people who only watch TV might think we aren't even campaigning. This is why we rely on this technique. We drive around to get our word out, targeting markets and busy areas.
We head to the central district of Sisli in Istanbul, where women and young members of the secular opposition are showing their support for voting no. The Republican People's Party warns that the results of this referendum will be decisive for the future of Turkey.
If the yes ends up winning, living in Turkey will become unbearable. Turkey turning its back to the high standards of living, democracy, civilization that were at the heart of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk's vision. A Turkey closing up on the outside world and becoming radicalized on the inside.
Every vote counts. And in a country where more than half the population is under the age of 30, party volunteers are canvassing entire neighborhoods to raise maximum awareness.
Your vote is going to be crucial for Turkey's future. We hope you will pass on the importance of democracy to your children and grandchildren. Please put your vote to good use. If you have any questions regarding this referendum, please tell me. If you have already decided to vote no, then I have nothing more to add. Thank you very much and have a nice evening. Thank you.
Even if the results could be neck and neck, the polls are predicting a victory for Erdogan's yes. A scenario that worries all fringes of the opposition, who fear Turkey will transition to an even more authoritarian regime.
Well, for more on this, we can cross to our guest, historian and political analyst, Samim Akgonul. Hello, thank you very much for being with us on France 24. Now, as we've just seen, the political forces opposed to this constitutional change are a very mixed bag. Do they agree on why this reform is wrong?
Absolutely not. This is the problem. That's why it's very difficult to make win-no, because all people, nationalists, Kurds, Democrats, liberals, seculars are trying to vote no or to make campaign against the constitution for several and opposite reasons. That's why they cannot construct a solid opposition to the AKP, and they are even rivals and enemies. That is why President Erdogan is a very smart political man. He is playing on these identity divisions of the opposition, and he is winning for 15 years now.
That's right, because often in this type of referendum, voters don't actually know the details of what they're voting for or against. They don't look into it. Is it the case here? Will this boil down to a simple popularity test for Erdogan himself?
Absolutely. Forget about the details. Even on the vote, there is no question. People are voting yes or no without knowing on what they are saying yes or no. It is the first time in democracy that there is no question asked to the electors. So yes, President Erdogan, he must be neutral, but he isn't, and he is making to vote his own popularity, his own power in this referendum.
Now, some would argue that Turkey has already departed from democratic rule. Why is this new move so significant?
Because it has been removed from the democratic rule de facto. Today in Turkey, there is de facto authoritarian presidential regime. President Erdogan uses all powers himself and alone. But he needs, of course, sooner or later, he needs a legal framework to this regime. And this constitution, this new constitution, this revision will be the new legal framework to mix up all the powers, legislative, judiciary, and executive powers within the hands of the President Erdogan.
And how much has last summer's failed coup strengthened him ahead of this vote, then?
Oh, he said himself that it was a gift from God. So it strengthened him physically because he could reunite all the opposition around himself. But it has been a very, very good news for him psychologically, because people in Turkey are afraid from the chaos, and he is making them afraid from the chaos. He is promising the stability. This stability never came since the election of 2015, and I don't think that it will come after this referendum either.
The army was long seen as a counterpower in Turkey. What counterpower is left today, then?
Oh, it's a good question. I think all the Democrats and liberals are asking the same question. The army, yes, had been removed, and happily it has been removed, thanks to AKP, thanks to Democrats, and maybe the Gulenist movement, which was the principal ally of the AKP during the first decade. But in today's Turkish institutional republic, I do not see a political power that can be an opposition, a solid opposition to the AKP. The only and single was the pro-Kurdish and leftist party HDP, completely destroyed after the elections of June 2015. Let's remind that Selahattin Demirtas, that we saw in this video, is in jail for 5 months now, and many other responsibles of this party also. So it's very, very difficult to construct a solid opposition to the AKP.
Now, because of the controversy surrounding cancelled rallies in Europe, foreign powers have been dragged into this campaign. What's at stake for Ankara's regional and Western allies?
Well, I think that the idea of being a European power has been abandoned for 10 years now in Turkey. And the opposite is true also. In the European Union also, Turkey is not a credible candidate. And since 2011, Recep Tayyip Erdogan dreams to be a regional leader, a Sunni leader, a kind of caliph in the region. And maybe he is trying to achieve this will. Besides the fact that Syria is a failure, Libya is a failure, all the Arab Spring is a failure, he still dreams to be a regional leader. But in today's global world, where United States of America and Russia are playing again in the Middle East, it will be very difficult for him.
So briefly, if you would, can Turkish politics escape from centering on that giant and divisive figure of Erdogan?
Yes, precisely. the figure of Erdogan is there to explain everything and to excuse everything. He is a leader, is a kind of imam trying to convince people with identities, religious feelings, without speaking about politics, without speaking about values, of course, and it works. He saw that it was working, especially since June 2013, where the Gezi movement tried to construct an opposition to him. Since that date, he knows that identity politics divides, and this division serves him.
Samim Aggonul, thank you very much for having spoken to us on France 24. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we're leaving this hour live from Paris. Stay tuned for a full news update at the top of the hour.